4 ways. How kindness will ruin your life. Denzel Washington motivation, Stoicism. Kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. Lao Tzu. But what happens when kindness is pushed too far? We've all been taught that kindness is a virtue, that it will lead to happiness, success, and fulfillment. Yet when kindness is taken to extremes, it can actually end up ruining our lives. In this video, we're going to uncover 4 surprising ways that kindness, when overdone, can become a burden rather than a blessing. It can lead to exhaustion, exploitation, and even career setbacks. But don't worry, we'll also show you how to practice kindness in a way that benefits both others and yourself. Take a moment to reflect on your own experiences. Has your kindness ever been taken advantage of? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's dive into the wisdom of balancing kindness with personal well-being. Welcome to Stoic in Your Life. Let's get started. Number 1. Exploited kindness. Let me ask you something. Have you ever been so kind to others that you found yourself giving more than you could handle, only to feel unappreciated and drained? We all know that kindness is a powerful and noble trait. It's something that can brighten someone's day, build bridges, and make the world a better place. But here's the thing. If you're not careful, your kindness can be taken advantage of. You see, kindness, when offered freely, is beautiful. But when it turns into an obligation rather than a choice, it can quickly become an exhausting cycle. Think about it. How often have you said yes to helping someone only to realize you were doing so out of guilt or pressure, not out of genuine desire? What started as a small favor can easily snowball into a series of demands, draining your time, energy, and even your resources. People may begin to see your willingness to help as a sign of weakness, and before you know it, you're trapped in a cycle of constantly giving without receiving anything in return. Whether it's lending money, running errands, or simply being there for others at the expense of your own needs, these acts of kindness can leave you feeling emotionally depleted. And here's where it gets tricky. Because you're naturally inclined to help, you might feel guilty saying no, even when the request is unreasonable or detrimental to your own well-being. Does this sound familiar? How many times have you agreed to something, even though you knew deep down that it would only leave you feeling resentful later? It's almost like your kindness becomes a double-edged sword. You give and give, yet you're left feeling unappreciated and empty. Over time, this can lead to a sense of bitterness, as you wonder why you're the one always doing the giving, while others seem to take without ever offering anything in return. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that kindness means always saying yes, but the truth is, without boundaries, your kindness can be exploited. And that's where the damage begins. This is where the Stoic secrets come in, because the Stoics understood the importance of maintaining boundaries. They knew that real strength comes from knowing when to give and when to say no. It's not about being cold or indifferent. It's about recognizing that self-respect and balance are essential to living a fulfilling life. Imagine, for a moment, the life of someone like Denzel Washington. He's known for his wisdom, his generosity, and his authenticity. But what many don't see is that he too must set boundaries. In a recent interview, he shared how he makes time for his personal health, family, and growth. Because without those boundaries, he knows he wouldn't be able to show up in the world as his best self. His kindness doesn't come at the cost of his own well-being. That's a powerful lesson. Kindness doesn't mean giving until you're empty. It means giving in a way that preserves your own health and sanity, so you can continue to help others without sacrificing yourself. Think about your own life for a moment. Are there places where your kindness is being exploited? Have you ever given more than you could afford, whether that's time, energy, or emotional resources, and found yourself feeling resentful, unappreciated, or burned out? It's so important to ask yourself, what is my boundary? Where do I need to say no to protect my own well-being, so that I can continue to be kind to others in a sustainable way? By recognizing where your kindness is being taken for granted and where you need to set clear limits, you're not being selfish. You're practicing self-care, and you're honoring the Stoic principles of balance and wisdom. The key takeaway here is that kindness, when practiced with awareness, can transform lives. But when it's offered without boundaries, it can lead to exhaustion, resentment, and frustration. The Stoics would remind you that you have the right to say no, and that protecting your own energy and resources is not just essential for your own well-being, but also for your ability to give to others in a meaningful and sustainable way. Take a moment today to reflect. How can you be kind without being exploited? How can you set healthy boundaries that protect both your kindness and your own happiness? When you find that balance, your kindness becomes more powerful than ever, and that's when it can truly transform your life and the lives of those around you. Number 2, becoming a pushover. One of the unintended consequences of excessive kindness is the gradual erosion of personal boundaries, leaving you vulnerable to becoming a pushover. This is particularly true when you habitually place the needs and desires of others above your own. What starts as a well-meaning gesture of compassion can soon signal to the people around you that your own needs don't matter, and they can count on you to always say yes, regardless of the inconvenience or unreasonable requests they make. In this way, kindness, rather than being a virtue, becomes a subtle form of self-neglect. You might not even notice it happening at first, but over time, you start to lose your sense of self-respect and autonomy, gradually transforming into a person who others manipulate, often without realizing it. It's important to remember that, as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, wealth consists not in having great possessions but in having few wants. This notion transcends material wealth and applies to our emotional and psychological well-being as well. The desire to please everyone can strip away your capacity to prioritize your own needs, thus compromising your personal happiness. In today's world, where assertiveness is often praised and success is linked to the ability to make your voice heard, excessive kindness can hold you back. Instead of confidently pursuing your own goals and ambitions, you may find yourself bending over backward to accommodate everyone else, constantly sacrificing your own desires for the sake of others. This creates a perpetual cycle where you become the one who gives but never receives, fostering feelings of frustration and helplessness. Your aspirations and personal dreams take a back seat, and slowly, you find yourself living a life centered around the whims of others. The result? A feeling of stagnation. The Stoics, especially Seneca, taught that it is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. In a world that demands so much of our time and energy, focusing solely on others without regard for our own needs can lead us to squander our most valuable resource: time. In relationships, this pattern becomes particularly toxic, creating an imbalance that often leaves you unfulfilled. If you're always the one giving, you may start to feel invisible or unimportant, especially when you find that those you've helped are not there for you when you need them. Over time, this dynamic erodes trust and creates resentment. You may feel as if you're giving without receiving any genuine support in return. The result? An unspoken sense of inadequacy creeps in, leaving you questioning your worth. The great Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." In this context, kindness should not be equated with self-sacrifice. True kindness involves knowing when to say no and when to assert your own needs. Being a reliable friend or loved one is valuable, but it should never come at the expense of your own sense of worth. A further complication of being excessively kind is how it prevents you from asserting yourself in necessary situations. You might begin to avoid tough conversations, either because you're afraid of upsetting someone or because you fear being perceived as selfish. This avoidance builds over time, creating a simmering undercurrent of resentment. Instead of addressing issues head-on, you suppress your feelings to maintain harmony, but this harmony comes at a steep emotional cost. Eventually, you may reach a point where you're no longer sure where your boundaries lie. You start to lose yourself in the process, becoming so absorbed in the needs of others that you forget what it feels like to stand up for your own desires. This is where the danger of kindness lies. It gradually undermines your ability to make decisions based on your own needs, leading you to feel disempowered in your own life. The Stoics understood the importance of self-governance, with Epictetus teaching us that freedom is the only real good. The things that we desire, wealth, health, and success, are not ends in themselves but means to the ultimate good, which is freedom of the mind. If your kindness prevents you from maintaining your freedom, it's no longer a virtue but a form of self-imposed slavery. When we talk about modern Stoicism, we're referring to the practical application of ancient wisdom to our everyday challenges, and excessive kindness is one area where this philosophy offers valuable insights. Stoicism encourages us to strike a balance between compassion for others and care for ourselves. The Stoic practice of amor fati, or love of one's fate, teaches us to embrace life as it comes, but also to remain firm in our values and boundaries. Being kind should not mean sacrificing your well-being, but rather choosing to offer genuine kindness within the context of your own capacity and personal principles. The modern Stoic recognizes that to give without considering their own needs ultimately leads to burnout, frustration, and a loss of self-respect. So if you find yourself constantly catering to others, ask yourself whether this kindness is serving you, or whether it is silently eroding your sense of agency and joy. Excessive kindness can be a double-edged sword. It is not enough to simply be kind. We must also be mindful of when and how we show kindness. Modern Stoicism teaches us to practice kindness with wisdom, understanding that our own needs and well-being are just as important as those of others. We must learn to say no when necessary, to prioritize our own goals and desires, and to be comfortable asserting ourselves. In doing so, we not only protect our own peace, but also become more genuinely helpful to others in the long run. After all, as the famous philosopher Lao Tzu wisely stated, kindness in words creates confidence. Kindness in thinking creates profoundness. Kindness in giving creates love. And by recognizing the limits of kindness, we ensure that it remains a powerful and positive force, rather than one that weakens us. Number 3, hindering your success. Kindness is undoubtedly a virtue, but in a competitive world it may not always align with your personal ambitions. While it's easy to assume that kindness will naturally propel you forward, modern Stoicism teaches us that success in today's fast-paced, cutthroat society often demands assertiveness, boldness, and tough decision-making, qualities that sometimes require you to step outside the comfort zone of being excessively kind. In a world where being assertive and pushing boundaries is often more highly valued than being amiable, kindness can inadvertently hold you back. You may find yourself hesitating to seize opportunities, to challenge the status quo, or even to speak your mind because you're overly concerned with others' feelings or trying to avoid conflict. This is particularly evident in the workplace, where the urge to be liked and to maintain harmony can prevent you from pursuing the promotions you deserve or taking on high-profile projects that could elevate your career. Take a moment to reflect on your own professional life. How many times have you shied away from standing out, from asserting yourself for fear of upsetting the delicate balance of relationships? Perhaps you've held back in meetings, not wanting to appear too forward or aggressive. Or maybe you've hesitated to take on more responsibility because you didn't want to outshine your colleagues. These are the subtle yet powerful ways in which kindness can hinder your success. However, Stoic philosophy reminds us that the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Marcus Aurelius. In other words, challenges, including the discomfort of being perceived as too aggressive, are an essential part of success, and it's through confronting them head-on that we grow and advance. Success, especially in competitive environments, is not a product of being nice. Instead, it's earned through resilience, hard work, and the courage to prioritize your own goals and interests over the comfort of others. Many individuals who are too kind find themselves relegated to the background, letting others take credit for their efforts or holding back from asserting themselves in crucial moments. By always choosing to be the agreeable, passive participant, you allow others to lead the way while you remain stagnant. This can be incredibly frustrating when you realize that success is not awarded based on kindness or niceness, but on grit, determination, and the willingness to push boundaries. Modern Stoicism teaches us the value of balancing kindness with personal ambition. Being kind should not mean self-sacrifice at the expense of your own progress. It's possible to maintain a kind and respectful demeanor without neglecting your goals. The Stoic ideal is not about turning others into adversaries or acting without empathy, but rather about embracing your own journey with clarity and courage. As Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In the same vein, it is not whether you make waves, but whether you are willing to make the necessary waves for your own success. Reflecting on this, consider how kindness manifests in your own life. Are you sacrificing your career or personal goals to keep the peace? Are you holding back from pursuing opportunities because you don't want to make others uncomfortable? In the modern world, where the fast pace and constant competition often require boldness, the act of staying overly kind could, ironically, prevent you from achieving what you truly desire. Sometimes, achieving your potential means stepping out of the shadows, asserting yourself, and taking ownership of your path, even when it makes others uneasy. In the pursuit of success, the willingness to be uncomfortable for a greater purpose is essential. Kindness should be a tool, not a constraint. While the world may demand aggression or bold moves at times, it's important to approach these challenges with wisdom, recognizing that kindness in moderation can enhance but not define your path to success. In a competitive world, modern Stoicism offers the reminder that you must remain true to yourself, rise above the external noise, and seize the opportunities that will propel you toward your highest potential. As we explore the different ways that excessive kindness can impact our lives, I want to ask you, where do you see yourself in this conversation? Are you more likely to fall into the trap of being taken advantage of, 1, being a pushover, 2, or perhaps getting in the way of your own success, 3? Take a moment to reflect and comment your answer with a 1 or 2 or 3 below. But don't go just yet. Be sure to watch until the end because Part B is incredibly helpful and will surprise you. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. Number 4. Losing authenticity. In life, kindness is often celebrated as one of the highest virtues. We're told to be kind to others, to be patient, to be compassionate, and to put the needs of others above our own. But what if, in our pursuit of kindness, we unknowingly set ourselves up for harm? There's a powerful lesson to be learned here, one that is deeply rooted in Stoic secrets, and it's about understanding the balance between kindness and authenticity. Let me ask you, have you ever found yourself being so kind that you started to lose sight of who you really are? Have you ever been so focused on avoiding conflict and making others happy that you began hiding your true self? When we over-prioritize kindness to the point where we suppress our thoughts, opinions, and desires to keep the peace, we risk becoming inauthentic. This kind of kindness isn't malicious, but it can still be harmful. Instead of speaking your truth, you find yourself telling people what they want to hear. You begin to withhold your real thoughts and feelings, not out of malice, but because you want to avoid rocking the boat. And sure, you might avoid a confrontation in the short term, but over time, this behavior erodes the foundation of trust in your relationships. People can sense when you're not being genuine. They might not be able to put it into words, but deep down, they know something's off. And that's when relationships start to feel shallow, hollow, or disconnected. You might think you're helping by keeping things smooth, but all you're doing is building a facade. And the truth is, that facade eventually becomes exhausting to maintain. When you constantly censor yourself and suppress your true feelings, you end up in an internal battle. The more you hide behind this mask, the further you drift from your authentic self. Over time, This dissonance can lead to frustration, burnout, or even depression. Your mind and body start to rebel against the inauthenticity you've been carrying, and that's when the real damage begins. You lose a sense of who you really are because you're more focused on fitting in or keeping the peace than on being true to yourself. That's the cost of kindness when it goes too far, the sacrifice of your authenticity. But here's the thing. True kindness doesn't demand you lose yourself. In fact, it requires the opposite. The Stoic secrets teach us that authenticity is a crucial element of living a meaningful life. Being kind doesn't mean hiding your truth or avoiding conflict. It means showing up as your real self and treating others with respect, even when it's uncomfortable. Think about a time when you were honest, even though it wasn't easy. Maybe you stood up for yourself in a difficult conversation, or you expressed your feelings when it was hard to do. In those moments, didn't you feel more connected to the people around you? Didn't it feel like a weight lifted off your shoulders? That's the power of authenticity. When you show up as the real you, you give others permission to do the same. And it's in those authentic connections that the most meaningful relationships are built. Look at the lives of people like Denzel Washington, who are known for their wisdom, strength, and authenticity. They don't bend to societal pressures or compromise their values to please others. They stand firm in their beliefs, even when it's hard, and in doing so, they cultivate respect, admiration, and deep, lasting relationships. There's a lesson here for all of us. Kindness is a beautiful thing, but it must never come at the cost of authenticity. Speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Show up as your true self, with all your flaws, opinions, and needs. When you do, you build stronger connections, not just with others, but with yourself. You stop living in a false version of your life, and you start living authentically, which is where true happiness and fulfillment lie. And remember, as the Stoics would tell us, true peace comes from within, not from pleasing others or pretending to be something you're not. Are you being kind to others at the expense of your own authenticity? Are you willing to stand in your truth even when it's hard? The answers to these questions will help you reclaim your real self and build the meaningful relationships you deserve. The Stoic secrets are clear. Be authentic, be true to who you are, and live a life of integrity. Only then will your kindness have its greatest impact. How to maintain kindness without harming yourself. Number 1. Set boundaries. In today's fast-paced world, many of us are conditioned to believe that kindness means always putting others first, often to the detriment of our own well-being. We're taught that saying yes to every request is a sign of generosity and compassion. However, this mindset can quickly lead to burnout, resentment, and a feeling of being drained. The first step toward maintaining kindness without sacrificing your own peace of mind is learning the vital art of setting boundaries. Boundaries are not about being cold, rude, or indifferent. They are about respecting your own needs and acknowledging your limitations. As the Stoic philosopher Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Boundaries are a way of taking control over your reactions, your time, and your emotional energy. Setting clear boundaries helps to ensure that your kindness is sustainable, and that it comes from a place of genuine desire to help, not out of obligation or self-sacrifice. At first, setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable, especially if you've spent your life saying yes to every request. It might even seem selfish, but the reality is that saying no when needed is a form of self-respect, and it ensures that you can give your time and energy where it truly matters. As you begin to practice setting boundaries, start small. You don't need to take on every extra task at work or accept every invitation that comes your way. If a friend asks for a favor that you simply can't handle, it's okay to decline politely. You don't need to over-explain or justify yourself. Just say no and offer an alternative if you wish. The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. Over time, people will respect your limits, and you'll find that you're not only preserving your own energy, but also setting a healthy example for those around you. The famous Stoic Marcus Aurelius put it perfectly when he said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." By establishing boundaries, you set the example of someone who values both themselves and others, creating an environment where kindness can thrive without exploitation. Setting boundaries isn't just about avoiding burnout or people-pleasing. It's about ensuring that you can show up as your best self for others. When you set limits, you're able to give your full attention and energy to the people and causes that truly matter to you. This aligns with modern Stoicism, which teaches us to focus on what we can control and to let go of what we cannot. By learning to say no, you are not just protecting your own well-being, you are positioning yourself to be genuinely present for those who need you most. Think of it this way. When you're running on empty, you're not doing anyone any favors, least of all yourself. By setting clear, respectful boundaries, you ensure that your kindness remains an authentic and abundant resource, not something you're constantly draining. As the great philosopher Seneca advised, a good character is not made of good intentions, but of actions. This process of setting boundaries may challenge your notion of kindness, but it is a critical step in aligning with the principles of modern Stoicism. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from mastering our emotions, cultivating resilience, and focusing on what we can control. By setting boundaries, you are in fact exercising self-control and discipline, two core tenets of Stoic thought. You are choosing to protect your time, energy, and mental well-being so that when you do offer kindness, it comes from a place of balance and intention rather than obligation or exhaustion. As you practice setting boundaries, it's essential to remember that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. Learning to honor your own limits is a powerful act of self-respect. Boundaries enable you to protect your emotional, mental, and physical resources, allowing you to show up as your best self in all areas of life. In the long run, this helps foster healthier relationships, where kindness is mutual, not one-sided. If you find yourself constantly giving without receiving, your kindness may lose its power, and you may begin to feel resentful or taken for granted. But when you set clear, healthy boundaries, you invite others to respect you. And by extension, they learn to respect their own limits as well. It's not selfish to protect your time and energy. In fact, it's one of the most loving and responsible things you can do for yourself and for those you care about. Learning how to set boundaries is an essential skill for maintaining kindness without harming yourself. This doesn't mean becoming cold or unfeeling. Rather, it means recognizing that your time, energy, and emotional health are valuable. By practicing the art of saying no with grace and clarity, you not only protect yourself from burnout, but also enhance your ability to give meaningful, intentional kindness. Boundaries create space for you to be your best self, and in doing so, they allow you to engage with others in ways that are authentic, sustainable, and fulfilling. So remember, as the Stoic philosopher Epictetus reminds us, no man is free who is not master of himself. By mastering the art of setting boundaries, you ensure that your kindness remains both a gift to yourself and to others, rather than something that depletes you. Number 2. Be authentic and honest. One of the most powerful ways to embody kindness without compromising your own well-being is by being authentic and honest in your interactions. Far from requiring you to hide your true feelings or wear a mask, kindness is most effective when it comes from a place of transparency and sincerity. To put it simply, honesty itself is a form of kindness, for it builds trust, fosters deeper connections, and creates a safe space where mutual respect can flourish. Think about it. When you express yourself authentically, you're not just showing a curated version of yourself to the world. You're allowing people to see the real you, the person with all your strengths and flaws. And in a world full of superficial interactions, that's rare and incredibly valuable. It's essential to remember that being kind doesn't mean you should avoid uncomfortable truths. In fact, honesty, even when it's difficult, is an act of courage and compassion. Imagine if someone you care about is making a decision that you think could harm them. Is it kinder to stay silent, to avoid confrontation, and let them continue down a potentially harmful path? Or is it more compassionate to speak up, offering your perspective with care and respect? The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In a similar vein, your words and actions, especially when difficult, have the power to impact others deeply, but only if you approach them with integrity. When you speak honestly, yet with empathy, it allows both parties to understand each other at a deeper level, creating stronger bonds based on trust and vulnerability. However, honesty doesn't mean being harsh or insensitive. There's a delicate balance between speaking your truth and being respectful of others' feelings. Kindness doesn't necessitate silence. It demands that we speak in ways that lift others up, not tear them down. It's about framing your honesty in a manner that encourages dialogue rather than shutting it down. When you disagree with someone, do so in a thoughtful way. When something bothers you, voice it calmly and with intention. This approach doesn't just preserve relationships, it enriches them, providing room for growth and understanding. This is the essence of what modern Stoicism teaches us, the ability to maintain emotional composure in difficult situations while standing firm in our principles. The Stoics valued rational thought and clear communication, recognizing that our actions and words must be guided by wisdom, not impulse. Additionally, being authentic means embracing your own imperfections. Too often, we feel pressure to be perfect or to fit into a mold that society has created for us. But true kindness comes from accepting ourselves as we are. When you acknowledge your flaws and limitations, you free yourself from the exhausting need to impress others or to wear a mask that hides your true self. It's this self-acceptance that allows you to be genuinely kind without feeling drained or unappreciated. As the great philosopher Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The more you accept who you are, imperfections and all, the more you are able to give from a place of authenticity. Your kindness will flow naturally, without fear of rejection or criticism. And paradoxically, it is in this honest, unguarded state that you'll experience the most fulfillment, because your actions are rooted in truth and not in the fear of others' judgment. This mindset is particularly relevant in today's world, where social media often fuels an environment of comparison and pretense. We're constantly exposed to curated versions of other people's lives, and it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking we must be someone else to be worthy of love and respect. However, the modern Stoic understands that true value doesn't lie in how others perceive us, but in how we perceive ourselves. Being authentic means resisting the urge to conform to external expectations and embracing the power of being genuinely you. This approach not only protects your inner peace, but also allows you to forge deeper, more meaningful relationships in both your personal and professional life. In modern life, where the pressure to conform and appear perfect can feel overwhelming, authenticity is an act of rebellion. It requires the strength to stand firm in your truth, even when it may not align with societal norms or expectations. But by doing so, you create space for others to be themselves as well. Just as you become more comfortable in your own skin, so too do those around you. The ripple effect of authenticity can transform your social circles and professional environments, leading to a deeper sense of fulfillment and connection. Remember, as the Stoic philosopher Seneca wisely said, one of the most beautiful qualities of true friendship is to understand and to be understood. By being honest and authentic, you invite others to share their true selves as well, fostering a circle of genuine, compassionate relationships. While kindness is undoubtedly a virtue, it must be practiced in a way that aligns with your true self. This requires the courage to be honest, even when it's uncomfortable, and the wisdom to communicate with respect and empathy. Authenticity and honesty are the cornerstones of real kindness, and when practiced together, they allow us to form deeper, more meaningful connections with others. In a world that often values appearances over substance, embracing your true self and speaking your truth is the most powerful form of kindness you can offer, not just to others but to yourself as well. Through this approach, you will not only protect your own well-being, but also enrich your relationships, leading to a life filled with genuine connections, personal growth, and fulfillment. By embodying modern Stoicism in your interactions, you create an environment where kindness and authenticity thrive, helping you live a life that is both true to yourself and deeply connected to those around you. Do you agree that setting boundaries is essential to maintaining kindness without harming yourself? If you agree, comment yes or 1. But make sure you watch this video to the end. There are 2 powerful insights that may surprise you and help you take your kindness to the next level. You don't want to miss it. Number 3. Prioritize self-care. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly took a moment just for yourself? When did you pause, breathe, and tend to your own needs, instead of rushing to help everyone else? Too often, we get so caught up in being kind to others, in being the support system for those around us, that we forget the most important person to be kind to is ourselves. In the hustle and bustle of daily life, it's easy to neglect your own well-being. We think that to be truly kind, we need to always put others first, but what if I told you that real kindness starts with taking care of yourself? The Stoic secrets teach us that you can't pour from an empty cup, and this idea is powerful, because it's true. When you take care of your own mental, emotional, and physical health, you're not only improving your own life, but you're also preparing yourself to be of better service to others. If you're exhausted, stressed, or overwhelmed, how can you give your best to the people you care about? How can you offer the support, love, or kindness that they need when you're running on empty? It's like trying to drive a car on an empty tank. You'll eventually stall out. You have to refuel first. Self-care isn't selfish. It's a necessary act of love toward yourself that allows you to continue being there for others in a meaningful way. Whether it's getting in a workout to keep your body strong, reading to nourish your mind, or simply spending quality time with loved ones to rejuvenate your spirit, these moments of self-care are essential. And don't feel guilty for needing rest. We live in a society that celebrates busyness and constant activity, but the truth is, rest is a vital part of being effective, kind, and present. Think of it this way. If you always run at full speed, without ever slowing down, you'll eventually burn out. But when you allow yourself the time to recharge, to give yourself permission to step back, you create the space to come back stronger. This lesson is deeply embedded in the teachings of Stoicism, where the Stoics encourage us to balance our external actions with a disciplined approach to self-care. The great philosopher Seneca once said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This speaks to the importance of knowing when to stop and prioritize your own health over the endless chase for more. It's about recognizing your limits, setting healthy boundaries, and understanding that kindness, in its truest form, is sustainable only when it's built on a foundation of self-respect. And here's a modern example to make it clearer. Take someone like Denzel Washington, someone who is known not only for his incredible talent, but also for his commitment to personal growth and mental clarity. He has often spoken about the importance of maintaining a strong mind, taking time to reflect, and making space for his own well-being. By doing so, he ensures that he is always in the best position to give his best to others, whether it's in his acting, his speeches, or his everyday life. He doesn't simply give without taking the time to recharge and refocus. He understands the power of balance, the importance of self-care, and how it makes him a more effective and generous person. Think about your own life. Are you allowing yourself the time to rest and recharge, or are you constantly on the go, trying to meet everyone else's needs? How much better could you serve those around you if you took the time to nurture your own well-being first? By caring for yourself, you allow your kindness to flow more freely and effectively. You are better equipped to show up for others in a way that is sustainable, authentic, and meaningful. Remember, true kindness doesn't come from a place of exhaustion. It comes from a place of abundance, an abundance that comes from within. So, if you want to be truly kind, learn to prioritize your own self-care. By doing so, you don't just preserve your own energy, you ensure that your kindness will continue to have a lasting impact, both on yourself and on those around you. This is one of the most powerful Stoic secrets. Care for yourself first, so you can continue to show up for others without losing your strength or spirit in the process. Number 4. Balance giving and receiving. In the pursuit of kindness, it's easy to fall into the trap of giving too much, often at the expense of our own well-being. We may find ourselves constantly offering help, support, and care to others, but without considering the need to receive. However, as important as it is to give, it's equally essential to allow others the opportunity to give back to you. True kindness is not one-sided. It is most powerful when it flows both ways. The principle of balance is at the heart of any meaningful relationship. Just as a tree needs both sunlight and water to thrive, so too do relationships need the balance of giving and receiving to flourish. This dynamic exchange fosters trust, mutual respect, and appreciation, ensuring that neither party feels drained or exploited. The Stoic philosopher Seneca once wrote, "It is not how long we live, but how well we live." This sentiment can also be applied to relationships. They are not defined by how much we give, but by how well we nurture them, with both giving and receiving in harmony. In modern life, especially in a world where self-reliance and independence are often seen as virtues, many people resist receiving help, even when it's offered freely. This might stem from pride, insecurity, or a deep-seated belief that we don't deserve help. Yet allowing others to give back to you is not an act of weakness, but a sign of strength and self-worth. When you accept help or kindness from others, you are affirming that you deserve care and love just as much as anyone else. In fact, this act of receiving is a recognition of your own humanity. As the great philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "The universe is changing. Life is opinion." Your capacity to receive is part of this change, a shift in the way you view yourself and your worth. By embracing the ebb and flow of giving and receiving, you create a more balanced life where your kindness can remain sustainable and genuine. This reciprocal nature of kindness can also have a profound effect on the quality of your relationships. When you allow others to give to you, you make them feel valued and included. Giving freely and receiving graciously creates a sense of mutual respect that strengthens the bond between you and the other person. It also removes the underlying tension that may exist when one party feels that their kindness is not being returned. Many relationships, whether personal or professional, can become imbalanced if one person is constantly the giver and the other the taker. This imbalance can lead to feelings of resentment, burnout, or even guilt. By cultivating an environment where both giving and receiving are present, you ensure that the relationship is healthy, equitable, and fulfilling for both parties. Moreover, the balance between giving and receiving is not just important for the people around you, it's also essential for your own mental and emotional health. Modern Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and to maintain a sense of inner peace despite external circumstances. This philosophy encourages us to remain resilient in the face of life's challenges, but it also acknowledges the importance of accepting help when needed. To refuse help, or to stubbornly reject the support of others is, in essence, a denial of our interconnectedness as human beings. We are not solitary beings. We thrive through community and support. By balancing giving and receiving, we align with the Stoic ideal of living virtuously, as virtue lies not in excessive self-sacrifice but in maintaining a sense of equilibrium between self-care and generosity. In today's culture, where the pressure to be self-sufficient can be overwhelming, accepting help may seem like a step back or an admission of failure. Yet, it's important to remember that vulnerability and openness to receiving can be sources of strength. Think of the famous saying, "It is in giving that we receive," which is often attributed to St. Francis of Assisi. This captures the essence of balanced kindness. When we allow ourselves to receive, we actually deepen our capacity to give. By acknowledging our need for support and accepting the help of others, we create a space for greater connection, empathy, and understanding. This mutual exchange is what sustains long-lasting, healthy relationships and keeps our own well-being intact. Equally important is recognizing that receiving is not always a passive act. Sometimes receiving means being open to compliments, allowing someone to express gratitude, or accepting the good intentions of others. It may also mean asking for help when you're struggling or simply acknowledging that you can't do everything on your own. In doing so, you allow others the opportunity to show their kindness, which reinforces the bond between you. Modern Stoicism emphasizes the importance of focusing on what we can control, and one of the most powerful things you can control is how you allow others to contribute to your life. When you practice openness and gratitude, you foster an environment where kindness is reciprocal and, in turn, much more impactful. The concept of balancing giving and receiving is essential for sustaining kindness in a way that nurtures rather than depletes you. When we allow others to give back to us, we create a dynamic of trust, appreciation, and mutual respect. This exchange not only enriches our relationships, but also reinforces our sense of self-worth. Modern Stoicism teaches us that true strength lies not in being self-sufficient to the point of isolation, but in embracing our interconnectedness and finding harmony between giving and receiving. By striking this balance, we can live more fulfilling lives, cultivate healthier relationships, and ensure that our kindness remains a source of joy and connection rather than exhaustion. So remember the wise words of the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. Freedom is the only goal, and we are not free if we do not act according to nature. And nature, as it turns out, is balanced between giving and receiving, between self-care and caring for others. In conclusion, while kindness is undoubtedly one of the most powerful and positive forces in our lives, it's crucial to practice it wisely and with balance. Without boundaries, kindness can lead to exhaustion, exploitation, and missed opportunities. To truly be kind without losing yourself in the process, it's essential to set clear boundaries, embrace authenticity, and prioritize your own well-being. Remember, true kindness starts with respecting your own needs, so you can continue to offer support to others without depleting yourself. By applying these principles, you can protect your happiness, achieve personal growth, and become a stronger, more effective presence in the lives of those you care about. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you balance kindness with self-care in your own life? Share your experiences and insights in the comments below, and let's keep this conversation going. Thank you for watching Stoic in Your Life. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more content on how to live with purpose and wisdom.